Shall I start?
No, wait, sorry. Pushed the wrong button. Now you're good.
Okay. Hello, readers and friends. Today is Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022, and thank you for joining me. I'm going to start today with two quotes from two different women who I admire greatly. They both have a great sense of humor, and they both have the ability to laugh at themselves. Sandra Oh says, self-care doesn't necessarily mean jogging. And then there's this. One of the most universal numbing strategies is what I call crazy busy. I often say that when they start having 12-step meetings for busy-aholics, they'll need to rent out football stadiums. We are a culture of people who've bought into the idea that if we stay busy enough, the truth of our lives won't catch up with us. This is from Brene Brown. Pondering these quotes, they're both about self-care, aren't they? Sandra Oh makes an obvious statement about what self-care doesn't mean to her, or me for that matter, while Brene Brown talks about the trap many women get into, whether professionally or personally. Does this crazy busy have anything to do with some inherent belief that idle hands are the devil's workshop? Or does it have something to do with being too nice? In 2004, the World Health Organization defined self-care as this. Self-care is a part of daily living. It is the care taken by individuals towards their own health and well-being, and includes the care extended to their children, family, friends, and others. Self-care includes the actions individuals take for themselves to stay fit and maintain good physical and mental health. This definition emphasizes that individual self-care must be applied daily for our own health and well-being, and then we can take care of others. This also defines self-care to include mental as well as physical health, and I'd like to give a shout out to emotional and spiritual health as well. You've all heard the advice about always putting your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. I had conversations with two women friends over the past few days. Both are going through a tremendous amount of family and work stresses. And I asked both women what they were doing for self-care. One friend said she was giving herself a mini vacation in the mountains. Woohoo! The other friend looked helplessly at me and admitted that she had not been doing anything, that she was so busy. The friend who said she was so busy also muttered that she pays about $500 a year for gym membership, and she hardly ever gets there because she hates it. People looking at her, what she's wearing, just sort of checking her out. When I asked her what sort of self-care she would do that she liked, she looked at me. Doesn't everyone go to the gym? She asked incredulously. And I gave her two reasons why I like to do my own self-care. One, I really don't want to be part of a herd of people. I once joined an exercise group, and the women showed up in new workout clothes every week, and I just wear sports bras and shorts. And two, I'd rather spend my money on other things. The third reason, which I didn't mention to her, is actually my biggest reason. I like to do self-care by myself with just my dog for company. I don't talk, we just walk. It is then that I take note of my world. I spot new batches of orange poppies swaying in the breeze. Or I'll get a different view of a pond. Or I'll find a hawk feather. Or I'll burst with joy when a blue heron soars past me. When I walk for a bit, I like to stop and just look up at the sky and remind myself there's a whole universe out there, and I'm just seeing a minute piece of it. Humbling. I totally agree with Sandra Oh. Jogging for me is not self-care. I jogged a few times and I didn't get it. God bless joggers. But when I started walking, a whole new world opened up. I walk Sadie pretty much every day, just like I walk Champy daily for 13 years. I walk in all weather. Walking is the self-care that comes easiest to me and that doesn't bore me. Friends have asked over the years if we can walk together, and I set a boundary. No. And even though I walk daily, sometimes I feel more antsy or edgy than usual. This behavior shows up as being cranky or hypercritical, and I know I have to put Sadie's harness on, climb in the car, and get us out to the fairgrounds or the levee. Sometimes all I do is legs on the wall yoga stance for about 15 minutes and add some other yoga poses and just let myself breathe. Mainly, I just need to breathe. When I get stressed out, I hold back feelings except anxiety and I forget to breathe. When I breathe, I feel connected to the universe instead of thinking that it's all on me and how can I fix this challenge or that irritating situation. This is my cat, Addie. She's helping me do self-care by rubbing her. Sometimes self-care is returning the phone call that's been hanging over my head for a day or so. It may be responding to that demanding email. Sometimes it's cleaning out a drawer that's a jumble of socks, sorting out the ones I still wear, discarding the ones with the worn-out elastic. Sorting socks isn't exciting. It's just something that needs to be done periodically, like clearing out that kitchen junk drawer we all have. The thing about this sort of self-care is that I envision it taking up my whole day, or at least hours of my day. But when I finally do it, I'm just surprised to discover it only took me 15 minutes and I had built it up in my mind as some hellacious chore. The best thing about self-care is that I feel good about myself afterwards. I have a strong sense of accomplishment and self-responsibility that comes with knowing that no one else could do this for me. I am responsible for my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. During the first few months of the COVID epidemic in 2020, I had a Zoom conversation with a friend. She was describing that many of her women friends were experiencing what she called pandemic scarcity, specifically regarding their hair coloring. The pandemic brought about shortages of all kinds, and stores could not keep up with the panicking women buying up boxes and boxes of their favorite hair color, adding to the scarcity and creating an anxious despair for the many women who couldn't buy any of those boxes. They'd been coloring their hair for years and could not remember what their natural hair color was. I have thumbed through my trusted hardback Fannie Farmer cookbook circa 1961 for the 50 years that I've been cooking and baking. It is splattered with spilled milk and has a pressed flower between some pages that my little sister gave me when she was 12 and she's now in her 60s. The book artlessly opens to pages like the basic white bread and chocolate cake recipes I have been baking forever. The pandemic scarcity that I experienced was an inability to find good baking flour and baking yeast. Grocery shelves were empty of these items for months during the first few months of COVID, sheltering in place, and the 6 feet of separation in grocery lines. And then a sweet friend of AC's sent me a wonderful gift, 15 pounds of flour and a Ziploc bag full of yeast. I couldn't wait to bake bread. I felt a sense of control because I'd somehow gotten it in my head that I wanted to bake bread for me and AC. I found that baking was soothing and relaxing for me, and for 2 years I baked weekly, mainly buttermilk bread. It is Fannie Farmer's basic white bread recipe, and I substituted buttermilk in lieu of regular milk. Sometimes I'll bake other breads with fabulous crunchy crusts, but I always go back to the buttermilk bread. Bread baking is a tangible way for me to take care of myself and AC during these uncertain times. The bread we eat is nourishing and delicious, baked with a few simple ingredients. Like sorting out my sock drawer, I always feel a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction as I turn out the hot, fresh loaves onto the cooling racks. While I was recuperating from surgery, I didn't bake and we bought sourdough, which I love. I've gotten back into baking bread in the past few weeks and I feel really good about this. My self-care is not jogging. And I have learned, thankfully, that I don't need to be super busy in order to prove my worth to myself or anyone else. I've been there, done that, and ended up burned out. I'm grateful to be able to define self-worth for myself, not anybody else, and also self-care. And that works for me. The common denominator for my self-care is movement, walking, yoga, baking, sorting sock drawers. Moving my body helps get me out of my head where I might obsess about a situation and impose my will on the results. Instead of sitting fixated, I move my body, wondering where Sadie and I will walk today, or I carefully measure out 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast into a warm bowl of water with a pinch of ground ginger and sugar. Or I may be stretching my legs up the wall and breathing. I'm grateful for all of my choices. Thanks for taking a few minutes to join me from the writer's room. I'm always grateful that you took the time. Did you experience any sort of pandemic scarcity during those first few months? What is your self-care routine? You can leave a comment here or send me a private message on Instagram or Facebook. And I want to remind you again of some of the simple ways you can support my efforts here in the writer's room. If you can give this video a thumbs up, that would be great. And when you click that red subscribe button, that really helps us build our credibility with YouTube, which counts everything. Of course, the really important point is my writing and you who read it. The address of my Amazon page is in the description below. All the Walkerville books are available there in both Kindle and print editions. And won't you pass that link along to any of your friends looking for some summer reading? And if you have any gaps in your collection, now's the time to remedy that. And exciting news! Book 8 of the Walkerville Desire series, Reflection, is in pre-publication now. I hope to have some news for you about that soon. And as always, the direct link for next Wednesday's live chat is down in the description below. Hope to see you then, and thank you so much for joining me.